Hi, my name is Charles Malky, biologist and plant expert with Ivy Organics, where we grow cool plants, and today we have a special episode. And while most of us are not thinking about gardening, this is Bareroot season and the #1 time of the year for getting your hands on a huge selection of Dave Wilson Nursery fruit trees to get your 2025 gardens off to an excellent start. And again, this is the time to do it. We're here with none other than Tom Spellman, the leading educator at Dave Wilson Nursery, which is the leading distributor of deciduous fruit trees in America. And we're also here with Cameron Akrami, the busy gardener, a leading garden influencer on YouTube, and be sure to check him out as well. So these next few months are Dave Wilson's busiest months for distributing their deciduous fruit trees, which we got a very small handful of the millions of fruit trees that get distributed throughout America. And some of the varieties we got our hands on include of the Blackberry varieties, the Triple Crown Blueberries, we got the Jubilee, Misty, Sunshine Blue. Of the grape varieties, we got Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Pinot Noir, Zinfandel, olives. The varieties, Arbequina, the Manzanillo, and the Mission. And for the pomegranates, we are making available the Ariana, the Desertnyi, Eversweet, and Parfianka. And I'm hoping from these varieties, we'll hear a little bit from Tom Spellman, and Cameron Akrami is going to make a decision on which varieties we should plant. Before we get too involved, Tom, can you share with the audience why is December, January, February, and maybe a little bit of March the busiest time of year for Dave Wilson Nursery?
Well, we do all of our shipping from November 1st until about the middle of March. So, right now we're full speed ahead. This is the first product line that we ship in the fall, November, December. And these are all potted. They're all in a 4x9-inch liner pot. So we do, the blueberries, the grapes, the figs, the pomegranates, the olives, all in this container. So they're very user-friendly. They're fresh, they're young stock, they're clean, and very easy to get these set out in the ground. So this is what we're shipping now. In about 2 weeks, we'll be converting over to bare root. So we're just harvesting now. We're digging trees, 100,000 a day, digging, bundling, grading, getting ready to ship those. And as soon as we have a full selection of material out of the ground, we'll be shipping that material out. So that starts right after Christmas. Now, what you brought in today is a really nice selection of our potted material. Sunshine Blue blueberries, Arbequina olives, some Triple Crown blackberries, a nice blueberry grape. So this is a really great selection of some of our leading home garden varieties, and also commercial. A lot of people planting commercial olives now. A lot of the berries are going into commercial projects along the Central Coast. So, this material is shipping out not only to wholesale and retail nurseries for resale to the public, but also to commercial farmers for field plantings.
That's wonderful. One of the leading questions I get from growers across America is once they get their hands on these deciduous, which means that even though they look mostly green, aside from the olives that will stay green year round,
yes,
as evergreens, but most everything else that's being made available are deciduous, and they'll lose their leaves in the fall. And a lot of growers across America are asking, do I plant these in the ground now, or should I save it indoors and wait for frost to pass before planting it?
Well, that's going to depend on your geographic location. But, for the Southwest or for the Western United States, get them in the ground as soon as possible. Take advantage of the weather that we're having. You can start to get a little bit of rooting. And then when we get a good weather change and increased daylight hours through spring, they just take off and go. So when you look at something like, say, this Sunshine Blue blueberry, it's a year-old plant. It's well established in the pot. It's got a nice root system, easy to handle container, and it's already flowering.
Yeah.
So you're going to get fruit on this coming spring. You'll be eating blueberries off this plant by the middle of March.
You will.
So
I will be.
What's better than that? I mean, people are always looking for that instant reward. We want things to happen right away. And sometimes when you plant a fruit tree, say an avocado tree, you might be looking at 2, 3, 4, 5 years before you really get any production. This guy's ready to go. So you're going to get production right away first spring in the ground.
So again, just for clarification, we're here in the Southern California climate, and we don't really experience much freeze or frost. We're going to get these in the ground today together, and you'll hopefully share some helpful planting tips. For those living in a colder climate where it's expected to snow, what's your advice or recommendation there?
Well, for the most part, you're going to hold off and plant varieties when the weather changes for you. So throughout the colder climates in the U.S., say, the Midwest, the Atlantic seaboard, New England, up towards the Canadian border, you may not be planting much until March, April, or maybe even around the 1st of May. But you want to just make sure that you're holding them over, you're keeping them under a condition where they won't freeze, you're giving them an optimum amount of light so that they can still photosynthesize. And like you say, most of this material is deciduous or semi-deciduous and will lose its leaves. Blueberries may or may not, depending on how cold it gets. Olives for sure are going to stay evergreen, and the grapes and the berries and things like that will definitely go fully deciduous. So
wonderful. So Cameron, thanks again for having us here at the Busy Garden Homestead. I know we've worked together for many years, and you are actually the inspiration behind the gardening concept known as backyard orchard culture, which I've come to learn very well over the last 5+ years. Thanks to you, and it was actually you that made the initial introduction of me and the Ivory Organics brand to Tom Spellman, and from there, I mean, we've grown in so many ways since then, and I'm forever grateful. Thank you.
Well, whatever you're spiking with that got bumped to be by Tom. So, I heard about backyard orchard culture watching Dave Wilson nursery videos and Tom, and got inspired, and on a whim went out and planted 9 trees in a weekend. And my very pregnant wife was not thrilled that I decided to do that at that time, but it's turned out to be a real passion. So good to have you here.
No, that's wonderful. And I'll be putting some lessons and links in the video description below of both Cameron educating with Tom this very important concept of backyard orchard culture and how you can truly maximize the use of spaces Cameron's done on his property and I've done on mine, and I know Tom's done on his, to basically get the maximum value of growing fruit in your backyard orchards. With that being said, Cameron, from the things we've so far discussed and the varieties we have available, is there anything that's of interest to you that you'd like to incorporate into your already established backyard orchard?
If you're somebody who plants things like trees, especially, you look at a bunch of trees and think, I'm sure we've got some place for all of these. That doesn't always match with the reality. Where I think we probably have the most space, I'm really intrigued. I mean, we're thinking of an olive, we're thinking of replanting some berries, but we have a new planting area of blueberries, and I'm sure Tom's going to touch on this, but I really would love to add another variety into there. So I think a blueberry probably is where we're going to go. I'm curious to hear a little bit more about the varieties we have here.
Sure. So as we already discussed, Ivory Organics is making available several varieties of blueberries in the 2024-25 year, and again, while supplies last. So this year, Ivory Organics is making available the blueberry varieties known as Jubilee, Misty, and Sunshine Blue. And of these varieties, can you tell us a little bit about them and hopefully help people that are looking for integrating blueberries, how they can make a decision based on these varieties?
Sure. Well, Sunshine Blue, which the variety is right here, is a very compact grower. So it works well in containers, it works well in raised beds. The plant itself is only going to reach a mature height of about 3 to 4 feet unpruned, so it stays nice and compact, very productive. It's not a large berry, but it's a really good quality berry, so you'll get fruit over an extended season. And here in the Southwest, you can look at varieties that are supposed to be early, supposed to be mid-season, supposed to be late. They're all going to run together. And all of these varieties, all the varieties you described, are self-fruitful varieties. They will produce with just one plant. They don't need additional varieties for cross-pollination. But that being said, if you have 3 different blueberry varieties together, you're going to get 5 to 10 times the amount of production. Wow. So why just plant one? Even if you're planting 2 or 3 varieties together in a pot, they'll grow compatibly together. They'll cross-pollinate together, and you'll get a good crop of blueberries all through that spring and early summer season. So, blueberries, one of my absolute favorite categories. I think you can't go wrong with blueberries in California.
That's great. Can you tell us a little bit about the other varieties?
So they're all good. They're all, Misty is an old variety. It's one of the first southern high bush varieties to have been hybridized. It's probably been around for 30 or 35 years. Good sized berry, reliable production. Again, good pollinator for other varieties. Jewel and Jubilee are larger sized berries, very acceptable to the commercial growers market in California right now. So oftentimes when you see those nice large sized berries in the market, they could very well be Jewel and Jubilee.
Interesting. So Cameron, Tom, which blueberry we picked to integrate into Cameron's already established blueberry patch?
Well, we looked at Cameron's young blueberry patch out there, which was just put in here a couple of months ago this summer. And I didn't see a Sunshine Blue out there.
No.
So considering that we want a diversification of varieties for cross-pollination, I think a Sunshine Blue would fit right into that collection.
Hey, if we're going after 5 to 10 times the harvest, I'm down with it. Let's go for it.
Absolutely.
For sure. One other quick clarification for those of you learning about cross-pollination, and I want to get the answer from the expert here. If we plant 3 Sunshine Blue blueberry varieties next to one another, does that establish cross-pollination that we're trying to accomplish for maximum, fruit set and yield?
No, because they're all virtually the exact same flower type. So, you want the diversification of varieties so that you have, different flowering types incorporated in there.
I just want to make sure that this point has been made clear that cross-pollination must exist between related,
Yes.
but not identical varieties in order to maximize yields and fruit set.
Yeah. Same genus, same species, but different cultivars so that you get that diversification of flower set.
Wonderful. So let's get to planting the blueberry.
Wait, you mean let's get busy?
Let's get busy.
Let's go.
So here we are at the Busy Gardener's blueberry patch, and there's several varieties of blueberries. And do you want to share what you've so far got planted as of how many months ago?
Maybe 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah, those poor things were just sweltering in the pot, and so getting them in the ground was a real priority. So we got these in the ground. We got a bunch of different varieties. Some of these, unfortunately, the names were on the pots, and I didn't label these. I got them in the ground, and I always think I'm going to remember, and then I realized that I didn't remember. A couple of them that I know for sure are, and you can see we've got a bunch of different varieties. I knew I was going for that, but Jewel we have here, we have Misty over here, and this it created kind of an edible space with this Parfianka pomegranate. Actually, this is a Dave Wilson pomegranate got from Ivy Organics, and so this is a wonderful thing we're wanting to see produce really this next season, especially as we plant this blue. And so yeah, that's going to be a nice thing. We're going to probably extend. We have some room that we can extend and plant. This blueberry probably is going to go, I don't know, what do you think? Right here? Right there. This one is going to go right here. And this one, Tom, you're saying is compact, more compact?
Very compact, yeah.
This is a Sunshine Blue. Okay, so that's perfect to kind of be near the walkway and have the larger stuff. I like, one of the things I've tried to do in a few different spaces is to use different elevations of plants. And so that way we've got a multi-tiered growing visual. So something smaller that goes to a little taller, and then having a tree in the back, I think is just pleasing and makes better use of this corner than just the block wall.
The other thing I want to share with the audience is just the diversity of the blueberries, which I know from a distance you can't see, but I just want you to see the difference in the color of the foliage. You can see the size. You can notice that each of the buds, there's actually blooms that will be next year's fruit. This year's one variety, just check out again the size of the leaves and the coloration compared to, for example, this one over here. Totally different. This one over here actually has a label on it. It says Jewel. So you can see what the Jewel variety looks like in December. Here's another variety. Again, you can see this one is a little bit more red, slightly larger leaves. And then there's another variety right here. And just check out the size. This one's a little bit more upright. And again, all of these flower buds that'll be popping any month now.
We've got to plant this thing.
Let's do it.
We're thinking right here. So
Yeah, it's kind of, even it out there and in between the other plants. And, we're going to plant it just a little bit high. Now, normally, I'm not a big advocate of planting blueberries in the soil, in the ground. I like a raised bed condition or a container condition for 2 reasons. It's very important to make sure you have good, fast draining soil. And you also want to use a low nitrogen, acidic-based fertilizer to keep the pH level, low and acidic. So your ground is kind of an exception here in Rancho Cucamonga. You have a very sandy, fast draining soil.
Yes.
So I have no problem putting a blueberry plant into your soil. If I was in an area where the soil was heavy, it didn't drain well, it was a clay or a very fine silt, I would never recommend a ground planting. You'd always be better off in a container or a raised bed with a customized media like a bark peat moss sand, or bark peat moss perlite, something that's has a high organic, an acid basis, and is going to give you that ability to drain. But here we're good to go.
No problem. And then if we were in one of those settings with that type of soil, is it possible to mound it up and create kind of create a raised bed out of it?
We want to do that with this as well. We want to plant it slightly high, about an inch or an inch and a half, so that you can see the outline of that container above ground level, and then we'll mulch around that.
Okay. So I'm just going to move some of this mulch out of the way. This topsoil here looks a little heavier than our native soil, so this may have been some of the stuff that was...
Well, I think you had some fill brought in, so
yep.
We'll get down into that sandy layer.
Rancho Cucamonga.
Cameron, you're in the right spot when you hit a rock.
Oh my gosh. I can't tell you that when I'm digging in somebody else's yard and they say, "Can you help me plant this?" and I go in and the shovel goes all the way down, I feel like I've won a prize. Instead of here finding
the one there.
Let's see. This would be a good time to incorporate a time lapse, Charles.
So we've got our hole dug, we've got our blueberry plant, so let's pop this out of the container. Look at that nice, well-established root system, not too root-bound. Everything's, with these corrugated containers, you get a nice root system that doesn't intertwine around the container. So I really like this pot that we've been using for this program.
Tom,
so now what we want to do...
With these roots, Tom, do we need to do anything to break it up at all?
No,
this is fine.
Just because of the configuration of that container, there's no need to scarify these roots or anything. We can just plant it as is.
Oh, great.
And we want to make sure that we're not going to go too deep. So we want this to end up in the hole so that our backfill soil is going to come within about an inch of that original container outline. So let's get some of that sandy soil and get that back in there. Now we could be adding peat moss to this, we could be adding bark to this, but like I said originally, your soil is nice and sandy and it drains really well. So I'm not too concerned with that. But what we are going to do is we're going to take this bark that you pulled away and we're going to bring that right back around the root ball of the plant. So we're going to bring that right up to the surface of the original container outline. So it's not too deep, it's not going to rot. We don't have any issues with a fungal problem or a stagnation problem. It won't create an anaerobic condition. It's going to be fine. It's going to drain well, and then we can get started with feeding probably about the end of January.
Hey, Tom, I use Ivy Organics to fertilize my plants, and so is this the right time in December to fertilize these guys?
Well, number one, this is a great fertilizer for blueberries. It's a balanced formulation. It's fairly low in nitrogen. Blueberries don't like a lot of nitrogen, so using something like this that's a 333 with all the different trace elements in it is the perfect combination for blueberries, or for root stability and for promoting a good strong flower set on almost everything. So I've been using that product as well for years, and it truly is a great flower and fruit fertilizer. So I highly recommend that. I would be a little cautious now because we're going to get cooler over the next 30 to 60 days. So I think we want to put our first application on at this time we want to wait and put that first application on about the end of January. So that's like breakfast. As this is really breaking and starting to grow in the spring, it's going to have that first meal already supplied
Right there.
for it. Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, so another thing I use is this Ivy Organics spray, which is, you know, they're whitewash. And so
Absolutely.
this is easy to be able to spray over the foliage and on some of the trunk. I know, like to use this to prevent against those weather extremes.
Yes.
Sunburn, sun scald, and different things, but it also has those pest repellents in it,
Right.
some of those natural oils. And so is there any issue, or would you recommend spraying something like this down for those reasons?
Absolutely. I'd go ahead and get a spray on now. In fact, I would spray the other plants as well. If you're going to do one, you might as well do them all, and that way they'll all be protected from the winter extremes. We're not really concerned with sunburn this time of year, although we could, on a good clear day, we
Yeah.
could definitely have a sunburn issue. But you know, let's get that protectant on there right away.
Awesome. I'll get spraying. Is that good
Done.
for that one? Sweet.
Either the rest, but I'm
Is-
concluding right here, and then we're just going to do our concluding sentences. While we've still got Tom, I've got one final question is, when is the right time for pruning blueberries?
Charles, that's a great question, and blueberries are kind of an anomaly when it comes to pruning. You're not treating blueberries like you would treat any other fruiting plant. So blueberries are, like we can see on this young plant right here, they're setting fruit right out at those terminals. All the flower set is right at the tips. Yep. So if I were to go in September or October or November or now and start doing pruning on it, every cut that I make, I'm going to lose fruit set.
Ouch.
So I'm going to wait until after the fruit has been completely harvested, and that's normally going to be about the end of May or mid-June sometimes, or 1st of July, and then I'm going to do a balanced pruning for the whole structure. I'm going to get one more nice flush of growth through July, August, September. That's my fruiting wood for the next season.
That makes a lot of sense. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Tom Spellman, Dave Wilson Nursery. If you want to learn more from Tom Spellman, he has a YouTube channel you can check out, and I'll put the links in the video description, as well as Cameron Akrami, the busy gardener, and his YouTube channel. That link you can also find in the video description below. Thank you both for being a part of this wonderful experience, this mid-December beautiful day here in Southern California. Thank you again, Cameron, for hosting us. And if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to give us that thumbs up, share us with your gardening friends and family. As always, keep growing with Ivy Organics, and wishing you all happy gardening.
Let's keep on growing with that.